Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is JoJo and this is JoJo Budgets. So today's video we are going to be doing our week 1 check-in for paycheck number 1 for the month of July. So before I get into that video, I did want to give you guys a disclaimer for those of you who watched my paycheck 1 budget video last Friday. There have been some changes since I recorded that video, mostly with our daycare and childcare, that sort of thing. So I'm sure as any of you parents know, with quarantine and everything going on, childcare has kind of been a moving target. So for us, when we went back, when my youngest went back to daycare, the week that our tuition was due, actually changed by a week. So I was off by a week. Thankfully, I was not behind, but our daycare is very understanding. But I had not included that. So here I have it listed here. It's due this week on the 10th is when I added it to my sheets, and we pay $174 every 2 weeks. The other thing that I did not take into account was my babysitter. So the normal summer program we have for my middle child, my daughter, that is not an option for us right now. They're planning on reopening for like the before school program that we take her to, so once school starts. So right now what we're doing on the days that my husband and I both work is having a babysitter come and watch her, and that's quite a bit more expensive, but I mean, you just do what you got to do. So that has been included in here as well when it was not before. So there's a lot of whiteout. I know it's sometimes hard to see the new numbers when there's whiteout being used. And then the other thing, so if you watched my paycheck 1 budget video, I try to lump my snowball into the minimum payment of the current debt snowball focus, and that's student loan number 1. So what I ended up doing, because of our snowball, it is up to this $1,449. And so I put a cloud. I love my clouds. And I just said to save that for the end of the month. So that we're not so tight until for the rest of the month, I ended up pulling that from being included in the expected amount for student loan number 1. So student loan number 1 just has its minimum payment of $68.99, and it's technically zero because it is a Fed loan, but we are fortunate enough to still be working, so I'm just kind of continuing on status quo with our debts. And so that's changed. It doesn't include the snowball anymore, but tomorrow when I do my paycheck number 2 video, you'll see that I'm going to include my snowball under a fixed expense, and the expected amount is going to be this $1,449. So it's still going to be included. We're still zeroing out our budget at the end of the month and taking whatever's left over and throwing that at debt. All of that is still the same. It's just the snowball's being pulled out and included more as a bill at the end of the month so that we have some cushion throughout the month and paycheck 1 isn't so strained. So you can see my new expected rollover is going to be $1,321.11. So that'll give us plenty of a cushion, plenty of money to build on itself for paycheck 2. So now that you guys are up to speed, I'm going to go ahead and switch you over to my transaction log and we'll get started with the weekly check-in. Okay, so here we are with the transaction log. This is where I start my weekly check-ins. You can see I had to fill out 2 transaction logs. I didn't want to waste any paper. So the weekly check-in starts right here. It's from July 2nd to July 8th. So here's the line separating last week, which was week 4 for paycheck number 2. When I closed that out, that video was last Thursday. So if you want to watch that video, I'll insert that in the description box below and also put a information card in the upper right hand corner. But now here's where we start week 1 for paycheck 1. And Yeah, I've already filled this out for the sake of saving time, but for those of you who are new, I will walk you through the columns real quick. So my first column is a checkbox section, and that's just to make sure that I've reconciled all of my transactions. Next is the date the transaction occurred, a description of the transaction, how much it was for, how much is remaining from what I had budgeted for that transaction or for that category. And that you can see in the Paycheck 1 budget video last Friday. And then what category does it fit into? So I do color code my categories, and this week we have all colors. All categories were used. So green is for income, pink is a bill, yellow is a variable expense, and blue is a sinking fund. So the first thing that I do with my weekly check-in is my variable expenses. My husband and I, we get paid every 2 weeks. So every paycheck covers 2 weeks worth of expenses. So today we are doing Paycheck 1, and the dates that Week 1 is covering, or that we're reconciling today, the expenses is from July 2nd to July 8th, and this is Week 1. So these are our categories for our variable expenses. And I just start at the top and work my way down. So most of my variable expenses are on this second sheet. So for those of you who have watched my previous video, I use this remaining column to calculate my variable expenses. So what I will do is find the last time that I made a purchase within that expense category. So groceries, we're starting with groceries. The last time I bought groceries was on July 5th at Costco. I spent $98.32. And I have $161.48 remaining from the $400 grocery budget that I give us to last 2 weeks. So I just take the 400 minus the 161.48, and that tells me how much we spent this week since this is week 1. So we spent $238.52, and we have the 161.48 remaining. Next is eating out and entertainment. So our eating out, we went to the water park, and we spent $25. I have $30 remaining from the $100 that I budget for us. So that one's pretty easy to do. So we spent $70 eating out, and I have $30 remaining. And then we have household. I budget $125 for that. So $125 minus the $47.57 remaining. And so that means we spent $77.43 on household this week. And I have the $47.57 remaining. Gas. The last time we bought gas was at Costco. And I budget $150 for gas. We have $108.11 remaining. So I spent $41.89 on gas, and we have the $108.11. Okay, and then next up is my husband. Okay, and so I budget $40 for us. So he is, let's see, he spent $55.93, and he was over budget by $15.93. Then I find me, there I am. So the 40 minus the 23.47 that I have remaining. So I spent $16.53. So there are some things that I like to purchase for myself that are a bit more expensive, mostly like beauty products. So your girl has no eyelashes. I've been using the like some different lash serums. So I've tried Latisse, and then I tried the I think it's Rodan Fields, that one. And it works pretty well, but it just leaves my eyes kind of goopy. Oh, you know what? My son is on a different sheet, so here he is. But yeah, it leaves my eyes kind of goopy, so I do want to get Latisse again, but it's a lot more expensive, obviously, than what I am budgeting for myself. So what I'm going to do, I think, is whatever is left over, I'm going to put that maybe in my sinking fund and just kind of save it up until I have enough money to make that one big purchase, because that stuff does last a while, so I don't need to make multiple monthly purchases or anything like that. So you guys will probably see that. See, my daughter was over budget. So I give, each of the kids have $20 to spend. And then my son, my youngest, he did not spend anything. Okay. And then unbudgeted. So this, we had a lot of unbudgeted because there was some subscriptions that came up. Like, you guys, these subscriptions, they will sneak up on you. And when I was first doing our budget, that was what I mainly cleaned up from money that we were just spending on silly subscriptions. So, but we ended up having like a subscription to HBO that popped up that was $14.99. There's some random subscription on my husband's PlayStation that he's going to look into. So, and then also for my daughter's before school program, they're having us just fill out paperwork like everything is going to continue as normal. We're just still kind of waiting to hear what our state's going to do as far as school goes, but they had us enroll because they're filling up fast, and that was, we had to pay like kind of a down payment, I guess, to make sure that we had our spot saved. So, okay, just making sure I did not type anything in incorrectly. So we spent $593.29 this week, and so I know that I budget a total of $915 for us, so that means we still have $321.71 remaining from our total budgeted for variable expenses. All right. So that is going to take care of the variable expenses for week 1. I'm now going to switch you guys over to my paycheck budget sheet, and we'll finish pulling in our transactions. All right, so here we are back to my paycheck budget sheet. And for those of you who have watched my paycheck budget video, you're already familiar with how I fill out this document to forecast my paychecks. Now we get to plug in our real numbers. So the first table that we have is our income. So we are just coming here and looking for any green boxes. So here we have income 1 that came in actually a day earlier. I think with the holidays, they just direct deposited our paychecks a day early. So income 1 came in at $28,12.07, and that was a little bit over what I expected. I do always underestimate our income and overestimate our expenses, just so that you have a nice cushion. Okay, and 70. All right, so we'll check that one off. And those were our only green boxes. So now what we will do, I'm going to switch you guys over to the fixed expenses or the bills, and we'll start going through our pink boxes. All right, so now here we are with our fixed expenses section. So I'm just going to be looking for any pink boxes that are on my transaction log. So the first one we have is Sling, which if you watched my paycheck budget 2 closeout video, that one is actually covered by paycheck number 1. paycheck number 2 for the month of June. This bill was, I was actually off on it by a day, so I did update my bills card that I used to help me set up my paychecks for the month. But that one was already reconciled on a different paycheck budget sheet. So I'll go ahead and check that box off. Now what we're going to do is pull in my second page and continue working through those boxes. So student loan number 2, that one came through as expected. With the holiday, it obviously came through on a different date, but it was the expected $543.40, and so its remaining is 0. Next is student loan number 1. It came through at the $68.99. We'll go ahead and check that one off. And then next is daycare. So that one I put down here, and it was our expected $174. So I'll go ahead and check that one off. Next is HP Inc. And that one actually came in under budget. I've been using, just with printing my sheets and figuring out what works best for me, modifying them. I've been using quite a bit of paper. And then obviously with the homeschooling stuff, oh my goodness, that we were also printing quite a bit of paper. Okay, and then last, so this actually, you know what, that should have been highlighted a yellow because this was an unbudgeted. In my debt confession video, you will see I talk about a home security system that we used to have. We canceled it. We got some new equipment, and their recording and maintenance costs, it's $9.99 a month. So I did add this as a for next month onto my bills card. So that's going to be included in fixed expenses, but for this month, because I was not expecting it, it is unbudgeted. And we reconciled that in our unbudgeted section, but it is a lot less than what we were paying before. Okay, so that takes care of all of the fixed expenses. And for those of you who have watched my paycheck budget video, if you're wondering, like, how do I use my monthly calendar to do my budget as well? So I check off the boxes as I'm filling out my transaction log. So you can see the bills that have cleared so far for week 1. I check them off, and that is just a quick update to myself so I know if there's an unexpected expense. So what I can do now on this calendar too is that I can add that security system on here. I'm going to highlight it in yellow just because if I did not include it before, but now I know that that is where it falls, so for future months it needs to be included in there. So anything that's unexpected, if there's a bill that's supposed to come out that I did not include or that has not come out yet, I can quickly intervene on anything just by using this while I'm doing my transaction log. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're not adding anything up yet since this is our week 1 check-in. So none of our income is being totaled, so we're going to leave that door open for more income to maybe fall into our hands. And we're also waiting for more fixed expenses. We're not doing anything with the variable expenses table yet until we do next week's video for our week 2, when we can add together week 1 and week 2. And here's where you can see those expected amounts. This is what I fill out in my paycheck budget videos, and these are the numbers I pull from to do my calculations to subtract from what I have remaining for the week. All right, next is the sinking funds. So we did have some sinking funds expenses, and those are blue. So we're going to go through any of our blue boxes, and we can see, actually I had some on this transaction log as well. So our first blue box is our HOA ended up coming out. So this category of sinking fund is HOA for the house, And if you guys want to see my sinking funds video and our categories, I'll link that in the description box below as well. And it was $114. So this is how I reconcile any sinking fund expenses that come throughout the month, instead of trying to add them all up at the end of the month. It was pretty cumbersome. So this has been working well. And then at the end of the month, I just go through and add up all these numbers and close out my sinking funds. So we did have one. Here you can see I put gifts just kind of in the remaining, just wherever I can put a reminder to myself. And then the category is a sinking fund. Okay, so this is under the gifts. And as I mentioned to you guys, we have a lot of birthdays. So it was $61.35. All right, so that is going to wrap that up. Next is the last table, is my debt table. And so for this one, what I do is as the bill clears, so you can see I had student loan 2 and student loan 1 and then my timeshare is coming up, but that hasn't come through yet. But these two bills have cleared, and they're assigned to this paycheck. So now what I can do is update their numbers down here. So I will come find student loan number 1. And if you watched my closeout video yesterday, you can see how I use, or last Friday, you can see how I use the zero-based budget to help us pay down this debt even more. So I updated this sheet because if I'd had the pre-zero-based budget payoff on here, and we want to see the number coming down. So then I can just take the $2220.78 minus the $68.99 minimum payment. So our new balance, and what I'm going to be pulling over into my Paycheck Budget 2 sheet tomorrow, is this $2,151.79. Next is student loan number 2, and this is not part of the snowball, and its interest is still accumulating because it is a private loan, and about $300 of this $543.40 goes towards it. So its balance came down to $61,504.05. All right. So now our budget sheet is updated. And that is going to wrap up this video. Tomorrow I'm going to be posting a video on how I do my Paycheck number 2 budget video for the month of July. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, I'll see you tomorrow. And if you enjoyed the content of this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you're enjoying the contents of this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.